Have you ever felt hellfire before? Feel my slap. I will slap your ancestry back to existence. Try me.
Oh shit.
Okay. All right. On to our next topic. D Wolf, you sent me something about them indoctrinating the kids in the schools or something like that. Could you explain a little bit more about that? Because that one was really interesting.
Indoctrinate?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So I don't know. Have you guys ever heard of Project Veritas?
Enlighten me, sir.
It's a private journalist group that they investigate like corruption and things of that nature. Whatever shouldn't be happening, they'll look into it. They'll expose whomever, and they usually have like a hotline. If like, let's say for instance, we were talking about the jobs. If there's a manager there and they're doing some fuckery, but the employee doesn't want to, get in trouble, they'll set up a meeting and this and the other and have the manager like start exposing shit and not know who he's talking to. Like, hey, they might trick you and like you end up on a date with the manager and that person's actually a journalist. Then you talk to him and you get him a few drinks and you start saying, yeah, when at that job, I don't treat you. What? They're roaches to me. And that person will record that shit. And then he'll post it and expose them and they'll handle what they have to handle. That's what this group does. But they do it on mostly on a higher level. They've done it with the news organizations, elections, things of that nature. So there's a teacher in Sacramento, California, by the name of Gabriel Gripe. He's an Antifa member. And it turns out that same scenario I gave you happened to him. I don't know for sure if it was just a guy that went to work at the school and, just for the investigation, or I know instances where it was Tinder dates, where they set up a Tinder date and they meet up and they're telling the whole story. Anyway, he was recorded basically telling how he teaches his classroom. And he's telling the journalist that he has the Antifa flag on the wall, pro-communist shit. What's his name? Mao, the Chinese communist dictator from back in the day. Thank you. He had that on the wall. He said, "Oh, you know what I do? I give them extra credit if they go to like an Antifa protest or something like that, or event, or show up at one of their meetings. You come back to school in this class and prove you went to one of them, you get extra points." And there are students now who knows the deal, and they're like, "Oh, that makes me uncomfortable. The flag and all this. This is not." And he would say to the student, well, this flag represents going against fascism. So if you have a problem with it, then I don't know what to tell you. He's saying this shit to the students that are like very uncomfortable. Students have complained. They've talked to the principal or whomever. Nothing's been done. All right. He's exposed a black reporter, another journalist from the same organization comes up to him and he starts, saying, hey, a colleague of mine talked to you the other day. And then he introduced himself. He was like, yeah, I'm with Project Veritas. I'm a journalist. And I had to ask you about these comments you made, what you do at that school. Before the dude was nice. He was walking with his girlfriend. He was all nice because it's a black dude, and their narrative when it comes to Antifa, because they're all about BLM and stuff like that. I'll get to them in a minute. They're all about that. So if a black dude comes up and he's polite and he's talking to you, and then when he reveals himself, normally how these people react, they will spit at you or they'll throw something at you, curse at you on their way to their house or their car. But because this guy was black and it goes against their narrative, they're playing nice for the camera and they start walking away. Because I know them outside of that. I know this is all for show because they don't want to show, because they see they're on camera, they don't want to show that they will slap this dude because normally they would. You understand? Optics matter to these people. Right. So eventually this broke out. It made mainstream news. The whole recording was everywhere. All right. Now there's a school board meeting. As of today, he's fired. But there was a school board meeting and everyone showed up. Everyone, all the parents showed up because they were like, what? And my kid hasn't told. I had no fucking idea this was going on. None of these parents knew. They're all complaining and they're all asking like the principal and the board members and stuff like that. Okay, we just saw a recording where there were students that complained about this. Why wasn't he fired before? Why did we have to have this board meeting and he's getting paid leave? What's going on here? And these people are like destroying them. Like one parent after the other are destroying them to a point where they had to go to recess. And the parents are like, well, what are you running for? What you running for? This is your job. What are y'all running for? Because this is what they do. All right. When I said I'll talk about BLM, remember what I told you Patrisse Cullors was advocating for and where her playbook was from? Communist China, right?
And Marxism.
Exactly. This is what this man was teaching all those kids. And he was saying, I'm sure he was telling them, don't tell your mom, don't tell your dad, don't do this. You get to join the group officially if you like hush up. That's not reported, but I will bet my bottom dollar that's what's up. You understand? So yeah, and based on the topic we were talking about earlier, this is what's happening. And the point of me bringing this up is this man, the guy that runs Project Veritas, he's done this plenty of times to powerful people, but nothing has happened. And he's proven it, but nothing has happened. And the reason nothing has happened is because no one's doing anything. So with this now, it shows something can happen because the parents showed up. People are doing something. We can't just sit back and talk about, especially when it comes to the school. Especially when it comes to our kids, because as of now, I'm not sending my kids to no fucking school. I'll do whatever it takes. I'll homeschool them. I'll hire I will not send them to a motherfucking school. They will have a social life. They will play with their neighbors. I'm gonna make sure all of that goes down. But school, fuck this, because this is what's going on. And we already spoke about what they teach the kids with the sex education where it's at now. You think they just stopping at these people reading them stories in the library? No, they're teaching you how their anatomy works and how you can become one of them. All that at a very, very young age. And now they're teaching them Marxism. All right? And the parents are like, so why he fired? Where are the other two? Because I also heard that there are two other teachers doing the exact same thing. I haven't heard the names yet. I haven't heard anything happening to them yet. And as far as I know, you only currently he's fired, but at the time of that board meeting, he was getting paid leave. So what's up? So yeah, that's the story. And also, I want to know your thoughts.
This is why when I said the whole thing about, I know we had to talk about critical race theory, and my whole thing is who's teaching it, because if there's people like him teaching it, I don't know, you're going to get the right information to our kids. So it's one thing, like, I see a lot of people going to do a lot of homeschooling because, especially when it comes around election time and about how the country is run, a lot of people have different opinions about how the world works, and they will weave it into like classrooms. So let's say like us as Black people, we know about the Black Panthers, but let's say a white teacher that's had ideas of Black Panthers as terrorists, if you teach. Who's to say that white teacher that's always looked at them as terrorists is going to call them a bunch of terrorists instead of giving them lessons on stuff that they actually did, like them starting Wicca and all that, and what they was actually for. So it's really dangerous to hear like what some of these teachers are doing, and if they're really teaching our kids or not. Because like we done gone to school, we barely learned things about life. We have to figure it out on our own. And I feel like for the future, these kids should at least know things like, I don't know, people balance checkbooks anymore, but at least how to know what credit is and how to use credit, and like how to earn credit, at least get good credit and bad credit. It's like what to do with other stuff is like learning stocks or some shit like that. Hell, even bringing trades back into schools. I feel like they should bring trades back in schools just in case somebody doesn't want to go to college. and waste
Exactly.
money
All
on the
that's
college.
gone.
Yeah, all that's
that's gone.
gone. They used to do that, and I don't know why they stopped, but all that's gone now. So, for what you said, that shit is scary, and it's kind of look like it makes you want to look at every teacher. So,
Yeah, one of the parents was from Venezuela, and she was like, "Yo, my family still lives there on my dad's side, and they're going through hell, and this is since I was a kid. And you teaching them this shit?" She was destroying them. All of them had stories. Not all of them, sorry. A lot of them had stories about like what this does, because this is the States. There's a lot of immigrants that, especially in California, there's a lot of you call it Hispanics, Latino immigrants. So they'll have these stories, and to know that this guy is teaching them. And I'm like, and you know what's funny? When I first heard the story, I made a joke. I shared the story on my Instagram, and I was like, yo, wouldn't it be funny if I said, I bet that a lot of his students are black. I bet. And then I didn't know yet. And then the next story, when you watch a story on Instagram, the next one will play. So the next one swiped over, and it's of the classroom after he got caught. The students that were filling up the classroom were majority black. And I was like, you see this shit? Again, this is why, BLM, Patrice Colors, all that shit, the same shit. Antifa's the military arm, and BLM's the propaganda arm. They're both brother and sister. They both work together. They're both paid by the same man, a Nazi, by the way, literal, not just calling him that. No. Self-identified Nazi, funding both groups. And what are they doing now? All Patrice Colors and them. I think we either discussed it, or I know for a fact it was trending that they all bought these houses. But where did this money come from?
Yeah, we talked about that. You definitely
exactly from the donors, and the Nazi. After it's all over, George Floyd's trial is over. They wash their hands. You don't really hear much about them anymore. So yeah.
Anybody else have thoughts about it?
So wait, is it the fact that he was teaching like Marxism that was the issue?
Yeah, he's teaching them Marxism. He's basically recruiting them.
Oh, okay.
And teaching them far left ideologies. And he admitted all of this. So it's not just photo, because he could have just said, "Oh no, that's just showing parts of history." He could have just lied about that. But on top of the recording, there were the posters and shit in this classroom, and the lessons it was in the lessons he was teaching and all that too. He was teaching. He said it in the video. He wants to turn them radical. He has 180 days to turn them radical or radicalize them. I think that's what he said. He admitted everything on camera. And the parents were like, the only reason we're talking about this, the only reason we know, the only reason he's fired today is because he was caught. And there are 2 more teachers we haven't heard from or heard about yet that are all up in that school doing the same shit. And the parents are, they ain't giving them no leeway or anything like that. They are on them. And this is how everyone should be about every fucking topic we talk about. When it comes to race and all this shit, everything. When you see a politician doing this, show up, son, and just bother the fuck out of them. You don't even have to say a word. Just bother the fuck out of them. Show up and be there. Make them tired of seeing your face, and things will get done. The amount of power we have, and nobody's doing anything, nobody's saying anything. It's insane because there's so few of them when you think about it. Think of the population and then think of the government. Think about how many people are in the government and think about how many people who are ruled. All we have to do is say, nope,